Is the screen visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I think we ended at. We have to start with immunity today, correct? Okay. So let's go to Rifat. Rifat, you can speak, right? Good. Good to hear you. Would you like to give a quick recap, or was it you gave the recap in the last class as well?
No, sir.
No. Okay. So would you like to give a quick recap?
Yes.
Yeah. From here, right? Yes. Quickly.
Entamoeba histolytica causes amoebiasis. It infects large intestine.
What is
It's
that
a,
basic? Entamoeba histolytica. What is it?
it is a amoebic dysentery.
No, that's the disease is amoebic dysentery. What is Entamoeba histolytica? Oh,
It's an
what is
amoeba.
it? Yeah, but what
It's a parasitic
is
protozoa.
exactly? It's a protozoa, right? So we have to know that whatever we are talking, these terms, Entamoeba histolytica, doesn't make any sense unless and until you realize what it is. You know, so Homo sapien, what it is? It's a mammal, the highly evolved mammal, like that. Yes, it's a parasitic protozoa. Good, continue.
The symptoms are abdominal pain, cramps, constipation, stool with excess mucus and blood, and serious symptoms are digest the intestinal lining and migrates to the other organs and tissues.
What does that mean?
Um,
Who digests? What digests?
the due to the amoeba dysentery.
So dysentery is where you lose. The stool is very, very loose, and sometimes there's a
No,
blood, and it happens due to amoeba, so it's called amoebic dysentery.
no,
But
the amoeba, it digests the tissues
right.
and the intestine ruptures.
And
Yeah, and it causes blood.
yeah, it can also migrate to other organs and tissues from there. Yes, very well. Good.
Then we did infections caused by worms. Plus we
also did that housefly is a mechanical carrier of amoeba.
Yes.
Entamoeba histolytica. Apart from housefly,
it
is it
transmits.
dependent on housefly? What do we mean by mechanical barrier? So these are the things which will be asked. So that's why I'm just making your life a little difficult here. Anyways, so why do we call it mechanical carrier, and how is it different from mosquito in the case of malaria?
Because housefly carries it from the infected person to another through
Healthy person.
Yes, through food and water.
Through food and water, it infects the food and water.
Yes.
But that the mosquito also does, right? It brings plasmodium from an infected person to a healthy person. And how is it different? Anyone else? Anyone can tell how housefly spreading amoebic dysentery is different from female Anopheles spreading malaria?
So the housefly, the organisms or the pathogens get stuck in the legs, I guess. They don't suck or do anything, and from there it transfers. But the Anopheles mosquito, it through its saliva, it transfers diseases.
Oh, but There can be many ways through which you can transfer something, but that's not the difference actually. But you are right in a way that you are explaining the causes of the difference. But there's a very basic, simple difference which I have spoken over and over again when I highlighted this mechanical carrier term. I told you why we call it mechanical carrier. See, that's bad if you're going to forget things so fast.
It takes from feces and excreta and infects the person through food and.
So what is the difference? Flies takes from feces and mosquito do not take from feces.
Yeah.
Is not the difference. It is the difference, but that's not the difference that matters. Anyone else? It might be in your notes in the dictations. You have to find it out. Go and look at the plasmodium. Open your books, look at the plasmodial cycle, which is elaborated in detail, and tell me this answer. Someone has to tell me this answer. I won't teach to just complete the syllabus because there's no point of it. It's just a psychological thing that it's a psychological achievement. The syllabus complete, but you know nothing. Because if you don't understand, ask. Ask 10 times, 20 times, 30 times. But if you say, when I ask any questions and you don't ask any questions, the next class you have to answer. That's a responsibility. Look at the life cycle, look at the cycles, infection cycle of both. Like look at the infection cycle of plasmodium. Let me put it here for you. This is cycle. And now read what I have dictated for amoebic dysentery and amoeba histolytica. But this question has been asked in boards, and a version of it has also come in the NEET. You still don't see any difference?
Sir, I
Yes,
don't know
Anna.
if it's right, so but I'll give it a shot. Housefly is they transfer the pathogens through food and edible items.
That's because they cannot bite.
Yeah, and
That's why they have to.
housefly injects it, I guess.
Housefly?
Injects it. I mean, mosquito injects the. So.
That's mainly because houseflies cannot bite and mosquito can bite, like sting basically.
It's wrong.
But I'm not asking about the housefly or the mosquito here. Of course, they are two different organisms. I'm asking what is the difference between the way housefly and ant amoeba histolytica's relationship is. I have not used the term mechanical carrier for mosquito carrying plasmodium, but I have used the term mechanical carrier for housefly carrying ant amoeba. That's what I'm asking. What is the difference between these two carriers? Basically, what is their relationship with the pathogen? How is it different? The answer is in front of your screen, projected. If it was an open book test, you all would have failed. And entrances are not going to be open book. So it's the best time you start realizing the gravity of knowledge or the lack of it. Are you people not revising? Honestly? Fatima? Atif? No response. Heba? People speak. You will be wrong only, no? Let me see how many times you can be wrong. How many different wrong answers can you give? Because if you cannot give the right answer, I'm sure that you will not also be able to give me many wrong answers. There'll be 1, 2, and then you will stop. So exhaust all the wrong answers, finish it up. At least you will learn that what is wrong, what you don't have to write in the exam. Atif, Fatima, Heba. What is the difference between Plasmodium and Entamoeba histolytica as parasitic protozoans? Both are parasitic and both are pathogenic and both are protozoans. What is the difference between these two pathogenic organisms in context of infecting humans? That's what I'm asking. Simple. Someone is writing in the chat. Yes, Hiba, I will repeat the question. The question is, what is the difference between Plasmodium and Entamoeba histolytica in their infection, mode of infection to humans? Both are pathogenic and parasitic protozoans. Yes, Adif.
Yes, sir. In Plasmodium, in the mosquito, like Plasmodium needs like the mosquito host for its replication and reproduction, while that is not the case in the housefly. Housefly, like the bacteria does not need to reproduce or does not like need the housefly host for its reproduction.
Perfect. It's not bacteria, but it's just protozoa. Okay, so just said bacteria, I think. But yes, is this something others didn't know, or I have not told in the class? And for that matter, Atif, you also took very long to answer this. It's very obvious, right? The way Plasmodium infects, it depends on two hosts. And when I started Entamoeba, I said it just depends on human. It's a single host. I also gave you many examples where without a fly, you can still get infected by Entamoeba histolytica just by taking bath in a pond, which is infected by Entamoeba histolytica. You can also get it directly from an infected person's fecal matter contamination or from other methods. Remember I told you, it just needs one host, and that is human. That's why flies are just mechanical carriers. Mechanical means which has no biological or chemical significance. It's just like you put your parcel on Amazon's truck and it gets delivered to you. Just mechanical delivery. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes.
So Plasmodium depends on two hosts, and both are crucial for its life cycle to get completed. It infects the one where it grows and replicates in the other. It also replicates in the one it infects, which is human, but there it only reproduces asexually. The sexual reproduction part only happens in the mosquito. So mosquito there is not just a mechanical carrier, it is actually a biological system which is required by Plasmodium to survive. Whereas survive and replicate. Whereas in case of Entamoeba histolytica, that's not there. Entamoeba histolytica does only infects human and housefly there is a mechanical carrier. Okay, clear everyone?
Yes.
Yes. So the question that has come in NEET is that the difference between Plasmodium and Entamoeba histolytica being pathogenic protozoans is that Plasmodium, unlike histolytica, is, and there are 4 options. So Plasmodium is a dual host dependent pathogen. Okay, is it clear?
Yes.
Very well. Okay, yes, Rifat, continue. Then we started with worms, right?
Yes. Then we did infections caused by worms. Ascarius. It is a common roundworm that causes ascariasis. Its symptoms are internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, blockage of intestine, and anemia. Its mode of spread is from an infected person to a healthy person through water, food, and soil.
Mm-hmm.
Then we did Wucheria, which is it is a filarial worm. It causes
Filarial worm. Filarial.
Filarial.
It's R. It's not N. R-I.
Yes, it is a
Sorry if it. Yeah.
filarial worm. It causes filariasis, which is
Yeah.
elephantiasis. It is a slowly developing chronic infection which usually affects the lymphatic vessels in our lower limbs. The lower there is a severe swelling and gross deformities in the lower limbs.
Yes.
Even the genitals are affected severely.
Yes. Correct.
Mode of spread is pathogens are transmitted through female mosquito vectors.
Yes.
Symptoms are severe pain and swelling in lower limbs. Then we did infections caused by fungi. Ringworms. Ringworms is the most common infectious disease. Its symptoms are appearance of dry scaly lesions, which takes place on various parts of the body. These lesions are very itchy, and then the mode of spread is either through soil by sharing clothes with infected person or utensils or phones.
Yes. Correct. And then I gave you homework. Would you like to explain the homework, Rifat? What did I ask?
You asked to find the similarities between chickenpox, smallpox, monkeypox, and tomato pox.
I think I told you that they're similar. I asked you to figure out their agents, right? Causative
Yes,
agents.
the causative agents.
Yeah. Did you figure it out? Anyone?
All of them are viruses.
Of course. All of them are viruses, correct. But which viruses? What viruses?
Chickenpox is varicella zoster virus.
Yes. So chickenpox, correctly stated, is varicella. Varicella virus. And what is smallpox?
Variola.
Variola virus. Okay. And what is monkeypox?
That is also variola.
Are you sure it's variola?
Yes.
So how can one virus cause 2 diseases? Have you thought about it? So if it's the same virus, how can it cause 2 diseases? Don't you think that if virus is causing, so the virus that causes COVID, can it also cause something next year, like a typhoid or anything else? What do you think?
So maybe they're like different species.
Maybe they are.
Different species.
Do we like the way we characterize virus? So the names are not genus and species strictly. So viral taxonomy is different from others. But okay, I consider answer. And Hannah is saying, yes, sir, it can cause a different disease. It's mutated. If it's mutated. So don't you think, Hannah, if a virus mutates, it becomes a different virus? Because that's what the
So
mutation does. It, yeah.
case actually doesn't, it's just like the case doesn't have anything, but like the genetic material inside it only has main part. So the genetic material might be mutated.
So that's the concept, right? Remember we studied that mutation causes speciation not very long back, just in chapter 6 and 7. We studied that one of the mechanism by which speciation happens is mutations.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you're right that mutations happen in the genetic material, but then genetic material is the only thing that defines an organism, right? If you change the genetic material, you change the organism. Don't you think so?
But it's not getting changed. That's like, how to say, an upgrade. That's all.
Be a little louder, please, or come close to the mic. You
So
are bringing important points to the discussion, and it's important to understand this. So Rifat, Atif, and Hannah, yes, you all of your points are valid, but I'm just pushing you towards something more important to understand. Yes, tell me, Hannah, what's your rationale?
sir, how to say, it's not changing. It's, how to say, getting an upgrade. That's all.
It's not changing, but getting.
An upgrade.
So you cannot get an upgrade without changing what was before, no? It's not like it's just getting bigger in size. And for that matter, to do that, also you need to change the genes or either the copies of the genes that are responsible for size. So it is changing for sure. That's why when viruses mutate, our existing vaccines become less effective against them, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, and Rifat was also correct in a way. So smallpox is caused by variola. Monkeypox and smallpox and chickenpox, for that matter, all three are closely related viruses belonging to, if we call it genus, which Atif said that maybe they're in the same genus but different species. So going by that concept, it's true. But the in case of monkeypox, we call it monkeypox virus only. But both monkeypox virus and the variola virus that causes smallpox, both comes under the same group called orthopox viruses. Okay, so both of these, even chickenpox, just check, they are orthopox viruses. Any idea what causes tomato pox?
Coxsackie virus.
Sorry? Just come again.
Coxsackie virus.
Can you smell it? Can you spell it? Sorry. Of course, you cannot smell it.
COX.
Yes, Cox.
CA.
Coxsackie. You know, it is an enterovirus again. And you know what are other enteroviruses? So they can be very different. So it's it's an enterovirus, which you said we also call it Cox viruses because you use the full name. Let me write it. This you mean Coxsackie virus. So Cox virus also it's known as, and these are enteroviruses. But there is another enterovirus that causes a very, very problematic disease, which India recently got free from, which was a problem all over the world. Can you tell me one viral problem? Let me give you a hint. It causes bones to bend.
Polio.
Polio, yes. So when a Cox virus, which is an enterovirus, causes tomato pox, we define it as non-polio enterovirus. Okay. So one can cause bones to bend, but the other infection can just put rashes and pocks on the skin, not affecting the bones. Okay, so just know this because they are not in NCERT, but I have seen for these the questions and some of the symptoms as well. Okay, so today I'll start with immunity. And this is one topic that I think all of you have a little bit of prior knowledge or from your junior classes. So what is immunity to begin with? Anyone can define immunity for me? How will you define immunity to a person who has never studied biology?
The capability of your body to withstand sickness, I guess.
Perfect. Not just withstand, like yes, to fight back as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Yes, perfect. Perfect definition. But then the question is, what is it in the body that fights diseases?
The WBC.
The ability. So WBCs, right? One type of cells are WBCs that fight immunity, right? So let's just write it first. In the overall ability, of the host organism the overall ability of the host organism to resist and fight against the disease causing microorganisms is known as immunity or is called immunity. Now it varies person to person, right? You must have heard that someone has a weak immunity, someone has a strong immunity, and if you want to increase your immunity, eat this, that, XYZ, right? Have you heard these statements?
Yes, sir.
Which means immunity is something that differs, correct? Very well. Now, what gives immunity? So is it just the WBC, one type of cell in the body that do this job, or is there different types of immunity? Have you heard of this word immune system? When do we call something a system? What makes a system?
Sir, a group of something like
This is level of organization you studied in class 11th. When do we call something as a system level of organization? Digestive system. What makes a digestive system?
Sir, digestive system consists like of the large intestine, small intestine, and all this. It's a group of how to say organs.
Exactly. When more than one organs come together to achieve a common function or a common goal, then it's called a organ system level of organization. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Correct, people?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if I say immune system, it just cannot be the WBCs, right? Because they are one type of cells. And even if I say blood is just one tissue. So immune system must be having something more than just the blood. So what makes an immune system of a human? We are studying humans here. So what makes immune system? You have to think through this. Otherwise, if you're just going to remember facts, I just saw that you're not very good at it. So let's understand the logic more. What other things you think? Just the WBCs that fight infection, fight against the disease-causing organisms? Okay, let's for a moment think like that. Hannah said WBC. Okay, fine enough. But where are WBCs, Hannah?
Blood, okay.
And where is blood in your body?
All over our body, sir.
It's not all over our body.
It circulates, right?
Is blood all over your body?
Um,
Have you studied in class 11 something called a closed circulatory system and an open circulatory system?
yeah.
In a cockroach's body, the blood is everywhere. But in case of humans, the blood is not everywhere. If the blood was everywhere, we could have not done a single surgery. The moment you open the body, there will be blood splashing out and the body will die. But we have an advantage because we have a closed circulatory system, that blood always stays in its pipes. And those pipes are called blood vessels. So blood directly does not bathes every tissue and every cell in our body. We are not like sponge soaking blood. So that's where we can easily cut up the body, do some surgeries, also maintain a steady loss of blood, keep putting blood in the body back, and can save the person. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So blood is running in closed pipes in our body called blood vessels. But blood is present in blood vessels, let's say. But blood vessels are inside the body, right? So for
Yes.
WBCs to fight any pathogen, the pathogen has to first reach the blood. Which in case of malaria, I can understand because mosquitoes directly putting it in the blood. But let's say if you ingested through food, let's say in the case of the other pathogen, which is Entamoeba histolytica, does it directly enters your blood? It enters your mouth first, right? Through infected food. You only told me that flies, you were giving me all these examples of difference that flies infect us through food and water. So when you drink water, where does the water go first? Directly in your blood vessels?
No, sir.
Then it goes in your stomach, then in your intestine, then get absorbed from there and then goes into the blood, right? So if WBCs are the only players regulating our immunity, then we are defenseless till the pathogen reaches the blood. Would you like to be defenseless till the pathogen reaches the blood? Maybe it's too late by then.
Sir, is
Yes,
bone
Rifat.
marrow a part of immune system?
Bone marrow is even inside. Bone marrow is inside the bones. So you are saying that something which is sitting, so bone is already in the body, not exposed. We never see a bone. Pathogens never see a bone. They first go into blood, and that blood is formed from the bone marrow, which is present inside the bone. So any one of you is a non-vegetarian or a non-veg lover, if you break apart the bone, bigger bones of a chicken or a mutton, you will see inside there is a mesh-like network. That's where bone marrow is. So you're right, bone marrow plays a part. Again, so we got two things now, blood and bone marrow, which makes two different kind of tissues are working together. So it's enough to call it a system. But again, my question is, these two things are very, very deep inside the body. Would you like to rely? It's like saying that a country is defending the country from sitting in the capital. If you want to defend something, where will you put the first line of defense? Inside?
Outside.
Outside, right? So what is outside? That is defending you against microorganisms. Sorry?
The skin.
The skin. So defense starts right away from the skin, right? So according to Fatima, the skin is a part of immune system. Everyone agrees or anyone disagrees that no, skin is not a part of the immune system? Yes, Anna.
I agree, sir.
You agree, but you didn't say that. You directly went to the blood part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you agree that something very common which we can see from the outside, which the pathogen also can see from the outside, is the skin. And skin is the first layer of immune system. That's true, which means there are many things that work as our defense and a part of immune system. So that's where comes the division. Now this immune system is of two types. The first is called innate immunity or innate system. What do we mean by the word innate? Inbuilt. And what do I mean by the word inbuilt? We are born with it. So we have a system in place by birth. It is our in general defense mechanism against anything. But now my question is, if we have something against right from the birth, will it be specific or general? More specific? Then how do you think it is specific? Because before you were born, you never came in contact with any amoeba or any plasmodium or any pathogen for that matter inside the womb. So how can you develop a specific defense mechanism against any pathogen?
So this, since skin has like some skins have oversensitivity.
But before birth, whatever is the oversensitivity, do you think that before birth, where are we? We are in the womb, right? Howsoever oversensitive your skin is, can it sense a pathogen which is outside your mother's body?
No.
No, right? So innate immunity cannot be specific because it's just like a in general firewall. You understand?
Yes.
It's just some basic things that work the same for every pathogen. So by birth, we get a complementary immune system, which is same for all the diseases, which works the same for all the diseases. After we are born, we means humans develop something called adaptive immunity. As the term says adaptive, we learn it or adapt it. Okay. Or adapt, or what is the other good word for it? Acquired. So it's also called acquired immunity, adaptive immunity or acquired immunity. So it's acquired after birth. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes.
So one we get right from birth and the other is adaptive or acquired, which we adapt or acquire after birth. So let's first talk about the innate one. And let me tell you, because this is not in your NCERT in this chapter, but you should know this, that all invertebrates, because it's invertebrates you have studied in class 11th, animal kingdom. What are invertebrates? Invertebrates are those who do not have a vertebral column, a vertebra, right? For example, earthworms, flies, mosquitoes. So all these invertebrates do not have a adaptive or acquired immunity. They only have innate immunity. Adaptive immunity is present in vertebrates, cats, dogs, mouse, humans, cows, buffaloes, lizards, birds. They're all vertebrates. They have a vertebral column. Make sense, everyone?
Yes.
Yeah. Now we are not going into the detail of vertebrates and invertebrates here. Let's just go into the detail of innate immunity. So write down about innate. Let's first take on innate immunity. If you have any doubt, please ask. Anytime, feel free to stop me and ask. So innate immunity or by birth immunity, write down. It is It is the non-specific type of defense. It is a non-specific type of defense, and it's by birth. And it consists of 4 types of barriers or layers. Okay. Now we'll start. See how immunity has developed. You can understand by understanding how pathogens attack, because it is against the pathogens only, no? So if I ask you immunity and you say blood, which means you're not understanding how pathogen attacks. Pathogens many a times may not just directly enter your blood, may first counter your skin or something. So the 4 type of barriers are also named like that. So the first one, let's start from the outermost, is called physical barriers. So there are many organs that are physical barrier and a part of innate immunity. And you used a word, someone said skin, right? So the first thing is skin. Why skin helps as a barrier and helps us fight against diseases? How do skin can help? Can skin kill pathogens?
No, sir, but it protects.
How?
You can like stop the entry, like they can stop microbes to get into our body
How? Why?
because it's a physical barrier.
Of course, everything is a physical barrier. For that matter, your epithelium inside is also physical. Your lungs are also physical, right? But once the pathogen goes in your lungs, there also the walls are made physically, right? What is the difference between a skin as a layer and your inner body linings as a layer?
Our skin is thick. So,
No, I'm asking what is the difference between skin and other layers of the body which are inside the body?
wait, but like skin is outside, so we can, cleanse it every time, sanitize it.
Your eyes are also outside, your nose is also outside, your mouth is also outside.
I can't say it, sir.
Because skin is dead. Multiple layers on the skin is just layers of dead tissues. It's a dead layer. After multiple dead layers of cells, then you come to the first living cell. So if a pathogen, a bacteria or a virus sits on your skin, it has no cell to infect. It is a dead layer. You know that? Your skin is a dead layer. Not the whole skin, but the top layers of it is dead. And that's where it acts as just as a membrane. So skin, when you apply things from outside on the skin to make skin glow and do all these kind of treatment, just realize that you are actually putting all the nutrition, cucumber, malai and whatnot on a dead layer. Better eat it. It will go in your body, give nutrition to your blood, your cells will feel good and you will radiate and you will glow. Correct?
Yes.
It's like polishing the boot from outside. So a healthy skin, you cannot make a skin healthy just from the outside. You have to make it from the inside. And the first few layers have to be dead because that serves the purpose. When in COVID, and anyways, even before COVID or even today, when you're sitting in your home currently, on your skin, millions and millions of viral particles of bacteria, fungal spores, everything is on your skin. Does not matter howsoever clean you keep your houses, howsoever clean you keep yourselves, there are always particles, pathogenic particles on your skin. Most of the time, they are not the pathogens that can cause disease in humans, but they might cause disease in some other organism. So they do not affect us. And even if they affect us, their number is very less. So if it goes inside the body, there are other barriers to take care of them. So skin is, few layers are dead. So it acts as a physical barrier to prevent the entry of the microorganisms directly. But if you have a cut in the skin, like wounds get infected very fast. Have you realized that? Doctors always say that if it's a bleeding wound, keep it closed. But if it is not bleeding, keep it open. Have you heard this? Two things. If your wound is closed, clotted, keep it open. Apply some ointment on it. Because if it gets infected and if you're keeping it closed, the chances that your cells will die is more. So it can get, wounds get bad if they're kept close. So some wounds should be kept closed, some wounds should not be kept closed. So cut is an opening in the skin. So that exposes your living tissues inside to the outside environment. And now any fungal spore, any bacteria, any virus which sits in that wound can infect the cells directly. That's what skin does not allow when it is intact. Okay. So you understand skin, everyone? What is the reason? If our outer skin was just a layer of living cells, it would not have been able to provide any benefit to us. In fact, we would have been more vulnerable. Okay, skin is done, the outermost. Apart from skin, what else? The other thing is called mucus. You know what is a mucus?
Yes, sir.
Yes, what is mucus?
It's like a sticky substance that is present in the lining of our noses and also some parts inside the body.
Not some parts. Every internal lining in your body, which is exposed to the outside environment, is lined with mucus. Your nose, nasal cavity, the buccal cavity, our mouth, food pipe, windpipe, lungs, small intestine, large intestine, stomach, heavily, they all are coated with mucus. In fact, stomach has such a huge amount of mucus coating it because it also have to protect itself from the HCl, right? Remember the mucus lining in the stomach protects us from the HCl in the stomach?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So all our inner lining of the digestive tract and the excretory tract is coated with mucus. Now again the question is, okay, it's covering, it's lining, but how does it act as a immune barrier? Just like the property of dead layers makes skin a immune layer, what property of mucus makes it a part of the immune system and the physical barrier? What is the nature of mucus?
It's
What is the
sticky, so
texture?
it's sticky, so it like prevents like microorganisms if like enter the body. It might like they might like get stuck and it might prevent them from progressing further. It also like protects from like dust particles from entering our body.
Exactly the same way it can trap, right? Just like skin does not allow the entry, that's why mucus is present at our openings like nose and mouth and um, the lining which goes from mouth into the stomach and intestines. It just traps, it's sticky, as Atif said. So write down, mucus coats the epithelium lining. Mucus coats the epithelial lining of the respiratory system, digestive system, and digestive system is also known as gastrointestinal. The word gastro is used for stomach and the word intestinal is intestine. So gastrointestinal is digestive system. Third, urogenital system. The urine, urogenital system helps in trapping the microbes entering the body. Helps in trapping the microbes entering the body. So both skin and mucus is clear. How do they act as the physical barrier, the first layer?
So
Health cell.
Trapping the microbes entering the body. Microbes stick to this mucus layer and cannot move further. But we all have skin and we all have mucus. Still we got COVID, or still we get many infections in life, which means they are not enough. So we just cannot not rely on physical barrier and then directly blood. So apart from physical barrier in the innate immunity, now we go one layer deep. What if these two barriers are somehow surpassed? There is an intelligent pathogen, a pathogen just by chance, or because it was in so high abundance, it surpassed both of them. So where will it reach? Inside the body, right? So from physical barriers, the second comes is physiological barriers. And by physiological, I mean something that is present or produced from inside the body. And in physiological barrier, what do you think comes? If a pathogen enters from the mouth or the nasal part, where will it end? From the mouth, let's say from the mouth, it ends in stomach, right? So what do stomachs have? Acid, right?
yes,
So first thing is acid in the stomach is a physiological barrier. It kills most of the bacteria and it does it every day. So every day when you eat something, you might be thinking that you are eating a very, very hygienic food. No food is hygienic because if it is exposed to environment, and I told you there are fungal spores everywhere, the bacteria are everywhere. So might be your food is also containing bacteria and viruses, and so is your water. But when it is going into your stomach and you are properly chewing it and your stomach is properly producing acid and digesting it, you are getting rid of all these pathogens right in the stomach. Okay, so acids in stomach are physiological barrier. Then saliva in mouth, secreted from the salivary glands. Saliva also is slightly acidic, you know that? It can get rid of some mild pathogens, if not all. It's not as strong as acid in the stomach, but it still can help us with protecting from some mild pathogens. And the third exposed thing, so your mouth was exposed, so it's taken care of by the saliva. Your nose was exposed, it was taken care of by the mucus. What is the other thing which is exposed? Any other living tissue which is exposed to the outside? Eyes. What do eyes have for their protection?
tears.
Tears.
Tears, yes. And what are tears?
Saline.
Tears are saline. I don't
Yeah,
know about if there's
they're salty, right? So,
the salty. Okay, in that sense, yes, you're right. But they're also slightly acidic.
oh, okay.
That's why let's first write down tears from eyes. So they are antimicrobial in nature. You cannot grow microbes in tears. Okay.
So what about wax in ears?
Yes, wax in ears is also, but wax in ears more than like to protect, it's for keeping the ear lubricated, because ear is a mechanical organ. Sound literally has to fall on the ears like you make something fall on the drums. So there is a membrane in the ear which is called eardrum. So sound hits that membrane vibrates, just like any mechanical membrane will vibrate. And behind that, there are three very small, the smallest bones in the body: malleus, incus, and stapes. Okay, called MIS together, MIS, malleus, incus, and stapes. These are the smallest bones in the human body. They have to move in a certain manner because they are connected to the eardrum. So all these are mechanical systems, just like a gearbox in the bike. And to work well, mechanical system needs lubrication, right? You
Yes.
put lubes and oils in the engines or not?
Yes, sir.
So similarly, earwax keeps, but lots of airbags also is harmful because it does not allow the membrane to vibrate properly. So you need to keep cleaning the ears at regular intervals. Okay. But you are correct. They are also sticky, so they might be, but because there is a physical membrane anyways, things cannot very easily go from inside the ear. But yes, there are some certain fungal infections that can develop in ears if you don't clean them properly. But we should also not clean them with water. We should not put water inside, probably by earbuds, things like that. So tears from eyes are another example. Saliva and acid, these are physiological barriers. The third layer in innate immunity with which we are born. Now we are going deep. So something that evades physical barrier, we are hoping that physiological barrier might kill it. If something evades both these two barriers, then it will reach the cell, right? Or the blood. That's where the cellular barriers come. This is where Hannah's answer now finally comes. So do you understand, Hannah?
Yes,
You
sir.
were directly jumping to something which comes under cellular barrier, your WBCs. Okay, so what are WBCs called scientifically, biologically? What is their name? What is the biological name of white blood cells, red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets?
Leukocytes.
Leukocytes, correct. And what is the name for red blood cells?
Erythrocytes.
Erythrocytes. And what is the name for platelets?
Thrombocytes.
Thrombocytes, perfect. Cytes means cell. The word leuco means colorless. So leukocytes or WBCs. And you know what happens in blood cancer? Anyone has an idea what happens in blood cancers? Blood cancers. What are blood cancers? Have you heard of blood cancer? What is cancer in general?
Sir, they are dead cells, right?
Cancers are not dead cells. They are the most energy consuming living cells. They grow and divide rapidly. They divide so rapidly that they end up making a tumor. They break the epithelium in which they are contained and they come out as tumors. So it's the uncontrolled growth of tissues. That's what cancer is. So not at all dead, nowhere close to dead. They are hyper living. And what happens in blood cancer is these leukocytes starts dividing so proliferatively that the number of WBCs increases 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 fold, even more than that. Just give me 1 second. There's someone at my apartment door, okay? Just give me 30 seconds. I'll be back. Am I audible, people? Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Aisha has joined. Hello, Aisha. How are you? Aisha is saying they stopped working properly. Yeah, but yes, but you're correct. But what is their proper action? What is their proper function that we have to know in terms of different cancers? Okay. Yes, what I was saying? Yes, I was saying that in case of blood cancer, these leukocytes go out of control. And you know what is the name for blood cancer, biological name for the disease? We call it leukemia. Now you understand why we call it leukemia?
Yes.
Yes, very well. So leukocytes are the first kind of cellular barriers of our body. And there are different kinds of leukocytes or WBCs in our body. So write down leukocytes, certain types of leukocytes. Many leukocytes come under innate immunity. So do you know what are the different kinds of WBCs? Anyone has an idea? There's something called neutrophils. So there are 5 types: neutrophils, basophils, eosinophils. These are 3 phils. And then we have monocyte and leukocytes. Sorry, monocytes and there's one more, lymphocytes. Okay. So out of these 5, just write down neutrophils, monocytes, basophils, and lymphocytes. They are all part of innate immunity specifically. Okay, neutrophils, monocytes, lymphocytes. Now, lymphocytes are also a part. Also, you will read about them in acquired immunity. So just write down here only that which type of lymphocytes. So there's something called NKCs, natural killer cells in our body. It's so overwhelming to know these things. Our body, the blood as we see it, has so much in it. So much is happening all the time in our body so that we can stay alive, we can do what we want to do, and our body is constantly, it's working like its own sophisticated machine. So many things are happening which we only are not aware of, right? Do you ever feel that your body is fighting constantly with infections? No. Yes or no?
No.
Yeah. So lymphocytes, natural killer cells, these are type of lymphocytes which play a role in innate immunity. Apart from these cells, apart from WBCs, there is one more cell type which is called macrophages. What does the word macro means in biology? Big. And what does the word phages means? You have read this term before also in bacteriophages. What do bacteriophages do?
Infect bacteria.
They kill the bacteria, right? They infect the bacteria, they kill the bacteria, right? They're bacteria killers. So macrophages are also like big cells in our body, which keeps roaming around in the tissues, because blood sometimes cannot reach everywhere. So as I told you, blood is confined in the blood vessels. So there can be infection in the tissues as well. So in the tissues, there are macrophages. We call it tissue macrophage. Okay, so write down macrophages. They are present in tissues and can phagocytose. Phagocytosis is where a big cell engulfs or eats a small cell, like amoeba does. Amoeba takes two pseudopodia out and engulfs something smaller, right? You all have drawn this diagram in biology, yes or no? In a similar manner, macrophages phagocytose smaller pathogens or substances in our tissues. Okay, and then they destroy the microbes, the phagocytosis of microbes. So they eat the microbes and kill the microbes. Technically, exactly this is what they do. And if you go to internet and search for these videos under the microscope, which people have taken, beautiful videos will show you that they actually hunt, they run behind them and eat, engulf them and destroy and degrade them. So this is cellular barrier of innate immunity. Any doubts, anyone? Yes, no? No doubts. And the last one is called cytokine barriers, which is inside the cell. So cytokine barriers, basically intracellular. They are also known as the molecular barriers. So sometimes what happens, if this is seen in case of, let's say, virus infected cells. So when virus, for example, in our case also, in the case of COVID also, in other viral infections cases, when virus infect the cells which are infected by virus know at one point of time that we are infected and now we are going to die. Yes or no? Okay. Am I audible? Are you listening?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So they know that we have been infected and we cannot protect ourselves. So when you cannot protect yourself, what you can do? You can protect the others. How? By telling them. Okay, by secret. So in cytokine barriers comes when any virus infected cell, now regardless which type of virus it is, because remember it is innate immunity, it is non-specific. So these virus infected cells, they start producing a protein which is known as interferons. Now these interferons signals and protect the non-infected cells from further infection. So they don't protect themselves, but they protect the others. Now this is a very amazing thing that has developed as a part of innate immunity. So write down. In cytokine barriers, interferons are proteins which are secreted by virus infected cells. Virus infected cells. These molecules signals and protect the non-infected cells from further infection. The non-infected cells from further infections.
So could you repeat it?
Okay, so part of what I have written, interferons are proteins secreted by virus infected cells. These molecules signals and protect they helps in the protection the non-infected cells from further infection or from further spread of infection. But still we get disease. Yes or no? All these systems are in place, but still we get disease. So what does it mean? They're all just failed? They all failed? Nothing worked? Yes, no? What do you think? I told you so many things, 4 layers. But if you still get disease, what do you mean?
So vaccine.
If you still get disease, it does not mean vaccine. It means
Our
that
immune
all of,
system is slow.
sorry,
Our
slow.
Low.
Low. What do you mean by low?
Our immune system is low.
So what do you mean by immune system slow?
We do not have the capability, I guess, the nutrients to, how to say, fight the virus, I guess.
What do you mean by that? You have WBCs in your blood, don't you?
Yeah.
So what you don't have to fight? You have skin. Which component you don't have? Or which component a human does not have? Is there any human without a skin? That's why they get disease? No. Is there a human without mucus?
No.
Without acid in the stomach, without saliva in the mouth, without tears in the eyes, without WBCs in the blood, or without macrophages in the tissue? No, right? But what do you mean by, but you're correct that some people's immune system or immune response is low, whereas others' immune response is better. But then what you're talking about is the acquired immunity part. The innate immunity just tells you that it is not specific. Remember, I told you in the beginning, it is very general. It is a general immunity. But pathogens are evolving, right? So many of them have evolved to bypass the innate immunity. Like COVID. So what do we need for these kind of evolved pathogens that can evade and still cause disease to us? We have to learn, right, over time, how to fight them.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Is what I'm saying making sense to you? I can slow down if it's not making sense to you. But everyone is so blank that I'm confused whether what I'm saying is making sense or not. It's making sense, right?
Yes, sir.
If everything that you have in place is not enough to protect you, then you have to put something else in place, right? You have to learn. And that's where the acquired immunity comes, or the adapted immunity comes. Adaptive immunity or acquired immunity. Now let's first know about the players. Okay. Now in acquired immunity is pathogen specific. We learn it with respect to every exposure. So when the first time you might have got exposed to Plasmodium, let's say. Anyone here has had malaria in life? Dengue or malaria or chikungunya or a viral fever? Viral fever, I'm sure everyone must have had, but anyone have had malaria? Yes, right? Or you know someone who had malaria? So I had dengue when I was young, but not malaria. My father had malaria once. So, but when we get exposed to this, our body kind of understands, learns. Next time, it's not like the infection will not happen. Maybe it won't happen to that extent that it starts showing symptoms. So maybe our body can fight it better. That's what acquired immunity is. You acquire it after your first exposure. Okay, so write down acquired immunity is pathogen specific. Is pathogen specific and it has a memory. What do you mean by it has a memory? This is the most important part here. Anyone can tell me what does it mean by having a memory? What is a memory?
It can like recognize the disease. If a disease like comes for the first, disease. If a pathogen comes for the first time, then it will. The next time the pathogen comes, it can like remember that pathogen and then attack accordingly.
So what's the benefit of the memory? If both the times you have to attack, you are fighting the war both the sides, but both the times. But what is the benefit?
So it knows
What is
how to
the
attack
benefit
and
of
where
fighting the same enemy twice? Yes, tell me, Hannah.
it knows how to attack and where to attack.
Exactly. We already have defenses in place, right? So if a pathogen enters the body for the first time, first the body has to understand what kind of pathogen it is. What are the pathogen's weak points where I can land a blow? It's just like you fighting. Two new boxers are boxing each other for the first time. They don't know about each other's technique, tactics, movements, what are their strength, which are the loose areas where I can hit. But the second time when both the boxers are fighting, they come prepared that I know that this boxer's left leg does not move that much. So if I try to place a combination including left, I'll show that I'm going to hit right, but I'll hit the left. You understand? So these are strategies that you develop once you know your enemy. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And that can only happen because you had a memory of the first episode. So here in acquired immunity, whenever a pathogen comes, write down. By memory, it means when the body encounters a pathogen. By memory, it means when the body encounters a pathogen for the first time. For the first time, it produces a response. It produces a response known as primary response. So it simply means first encounter with pathogen and you make a primary response. Now this primary response will be a low intensity response. Can you understand why it is low intensity?
Yes, sir.
Because we don't know what to do. We are just trying. It also will be low intensity and comparatively slow response, right? Because your body will
Yes,
take
sir.
some time to understand. Correct? But upon subsequent encounter, continue, but upon subsequent encounter with the same pathogen, now the body will show a secondary response. And how it will be different from the primary response? It will be a highly intense response, right?
Yes, sir.
You already know what to do, where to hit. So you will just have all the tools ready made, all the weapons ready made in the cell. And the moment pathogen will enter, you will just, boom, with the full force. Okay, so it's a high intense response. And this kind of response is also known as anamnestic. Anamnestic response. High in vigor. And it is also fast. You don't take that much of time. No, it's a faster response.
So what was amnestic response?
Very intense.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this tells you something. This tells that the body remembered the pathogen. Right? So the body remembered what happened in the first place. How do you think body can remember? Because this part is not told in NCERT, but like it is there, but it's not elaborated properly. How can a body remember? You can remember because you have a brain. But how can cells remember?
Antibody.
Exactly. Perfect. So in acquired immunity, there is something called the write down both the primary and secondary response. Both primary and secondary response are carried out by two special types of lymphocytes. Remember, I told you lymphocytes will also come in second acquired immunity.
Yes, sir.
So in innate immunity, the lymphocyte that was playing the role, which was it? Why is it coming like this?
So there's something wrong with this screen.
Yeah, I also think so. No, it's fine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the here in the yes, cellular, there were lymphocytes here also, correct? See, which lymphocytes are present as cellular barriers as a part of innate immunity? NKCs, natural killer cells, right? They just kill, they are killer cells. Make sense? But which type of lymphocytes are responsible for acquired immunity? So there are two. One is B lymphocytes, and the other is T lymphocytes. Now, why they are called B and T? Someone mentioned bone marrow. Who mentioned bone marrow? Now is the time to step up and take the credit. Who said immunity also comes from bone marrow? Was it Rifat, I guess?
Yes.
Yes. So B lymphocyte is called B lymphocyte because it is produced from bone marrow. So B word is for bone marrow. And T lymphocytes is produced from thymus. That's why the T word is there. Is it clear? Now, yes. Now remember that B lymphocytes produces antibodies. Produces antibodies. Whereas T lymphocytes do not produce antibodies but help the B lymphocytes to produce antibodies. So T lymphocytes help the B lymphocytes to produce antibodies. And it's not just the moral support, it's more than that. Now, what is the antibody part? That we will do from here onwards, we'll take in the next class. We'll study antibody in detail, and then I'll teach you about vaccination, allergy, and some immunity related diseases like AIDS. Okay. Anyone has any doubts? So I think in the next two classes, we can kind of try to wrap this chapter. But okay, in the next class, we'll take antibodies. Please come little prepared. Please revise first of all. You people are not at all speaking anything, and it's becoming super boring to teach when no one speaks, you know. So you can sympathize with me and speak and discuss in the class. Hannah, Atef, and Rifat. Thank you for keeping me alive. And I'll see you in the next class. Please, everyone, let's buckle up. Come prepared, read and revise whatever